you know. And then like, I'd take breaks and stuff, but yeah. And then I became a mod and an admin this year, so yeah, I'm
Was
still.
that just this year?
Yeah, that was. There was like a 2 month gap between me being a mod and an admin. It was very quick. Um, I think it was just kind of out of necessity, and but yeah, it's been fun. It's been great. It's been frustrating and fun. So yeah.
Andy or Kat? You guys want one of you guys? Andy, you want to go?
Hi, I'm Andy. Andromeda Starry. I started playing on Doug in 2016, I want to say, somewhere around there. And I got into it because my roommate had been playing, and they were like, "Oh my God, you gotta go do this thing," because I did D&D and stuff like that before. So they're like, "You'll love it. It's story. It's blah blah blah." And then I went in, and my first interaction after about 2 weeks of just like playing on my own and surviving, um, was actually the cult. It was the cult of Papa, which was quite a shock because I was such a noob to Daisy, and I was like running around with a torch, and I had like the stupid helmet on, like the construction helmet or whatever. I was dressed horribly, and I like was running around the cabin that I had taken as my home. And Daisy was way different back then than it is now, but and then I saw a flare, and then there was just like people all around me, and I was like, "Holy shit, what do I do?" And yeah, that video's out there somewhere.
Well, tell them what characters you play, silly.
Oh Lord. Currently I am playing Ember the historian, because I wanted a reason to know all the lore that I already know, and so I'm like a lore master kind of character that kind of knows the history. I have played Andy Walker, who is dead. I have played Kaylee Fry, who is dead. I have played Mara. That was my first character way back in the day. Technically not dead, but she's old and off the map. I think those are the only ones I've really. Those are my main ones. I've played little bits and bobs like here and there, but those are my main ones. Yep,
She's experienced.
I'm
Okay.
experienced.
Well, since you guys were all here before me, Kat, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself, and I'll go last.
Okay, well, my name is Kat. A lot of people watching probably already know that. I'm currently playing Polly the Clown, and I've been on Doug since 2019, I want to say. I think it was the spring of 2019 that I joined and I whitelisted, and my very first character ever was a man named Dave.
I did not know that.
I didn't know how to play Daisy at all. I had played the mod like years back, but it was like coming into a brand new game for me. I couldn't remember how to do anything, and I didn't know I could customize my character ahead of time. So I spawned in as a man, and I was like, I'm gonna commit to the bit. I'm Dave now. And the very first people that I met, some of you may remember. I know most of you will. I met Audie. It was like the first person I ever met on the server was
Audie.
Audie, and the dugout were all on the coast, and they had a car, and they were like getting stuff to farm and things, and I was like, hi, I'm Dave. I don't know how to do anything because my dad never taught me. That was what I said. And they were just like, oh yeah, sure. They just completely didn't question it at all. And they were like, okay, Dave, you're coming into the dugout with us. And I was like, I'm gonna whitelist on this server for sure. And that was fun. And then I've only played one other character other than Polly, and her name was Kat, and she's dead now.
A psycho.
Absolute
Yeah.
psycho.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I guess that's just like what I like to do, is I like to play crazy people.
And you do it really well. You do it really well. And your storytelling is just, I mean, in written form too, is just magnificent.
Oh,
I mean,
thank you.
it's really good.
Yep, I've written a lot of Doug fanfic over the years. Many, many pages of fanfic.
Go read it, guys. Really, it's worth it.
If you whitelist, you'll be able to read my fanfic.
Yeah.
That's how you gain
Yes.
access to our Reddit. So if you have interest in reading more lore and reading about characters' backstories and things like that, and there's also like other other content forums, people post pictures, all kinds of stuff on there, and you can only see it if you're whitelisted. So
Yes, join us.
join us, become us,
Yeah.
Doug,
One
Doug,
of
Doug,
One
Doug.
of us, yeah, Doug. I'm Jackie. I actually was not a role player when I started on Doug. I came in with a group that that eventually was banned actually at a later time, called the Mountain Men, and I was a PvPer only. I think my character's name was even Whack-a-Mole at the time. I mean, I just PvP. That's what I did. In the course of that time, I ended up joining the Islanders, and eventually I ran into Iris, who on one of her alts, I think Jane. I'm not completely sure. Kat, maybe you know that. And she tried to talk me into joining Darkest Midnight. So my first character was, and I was scared because I didn't want to role play. I thought role play was cringy. I didn't want anything to do with it. And Iris assured me that I didn't have to role play. I could just stand there and, be a wallflower or whatever I wanted to do. So I went over and I made my first character, and her name was Jezreel. In the course of that time of playing Jezreel, I met Kat, of course, and Charlie and Iris and almost every member of DAM at the time, Harvey, Dave, Chef, oh gosh, a multitude of others. But the biggest thing that was a changer for me was Andy up here was playing Kaylee at the time, and there was a big storyline that involved a baby and Dam, and I was supposed to just be a guard there. And I was just standing there, and Iris was streaming and had to go AFK. And this woman starts RPing with me, and I'm like, is this lady really going to try to RP with me right now? And I didn't know what to do, and I made a mess of things. I did.
Oh,
I didn't know. Well, I mean, I didn't know what I was doing. I went in there.
You should have
I
done,
w-
but whatever.
yeah. Well, you got a shovel instead. But anyway, so Jezreel was my first character, whom I perma'd. She is dead now. And I currently play Mamie at the House of Hope, with the coalition. Yeah, that's it.
Terrible
me.
group of people.
Terrible.
Just bad people.
Yes.
I want to mention that all of the people you see on the screen today also have Twitch channels. I would like to link to them and have anybody that's interested in seeing them play those characters. They do stream sometimes. I know Mamie is streaming quite often lately. And I'll make sure at some point during the stream to plug everybody for you guys so that you can go and check them out and follow them as well. And we did get a question while we were touching on whitelisting. Somebody asked if we would go over what whitelist requirements are. And I thought a perfect person for that might be our legit pop. But I don't know that there's really, I think it's just you have an application, they ask questions and you answer them. I don't know if there's really any other requirement.
Yeah, so ideally we want people that are going to integrate well with the community. Like there's a specific person that Doug is meant for, and it's not meant for everybody, and we recognize that, and we try to cater to our core audience and people that actually give a shit about like making Doug better and improving it. So we ask that if you are going to apply for whitelist, that you play on the server a little bit and kind of understand how things work, because it is different than most DayZ servers. But yeah, it's basically the only requirement is that you understand how Doug works. So you know the rules, you abide by them, you're not a jerk. You want to contribute more than just playing on the server. You want to contribute to the community, you want to improve it, you want to help people, you want to contribute both in and out of game. And like that's basically it. But we do deny people like that. Like I've only played a week on the server and it's fun and I want to be a part of it, but like they don't really get the ins and outs of Doug, like the nuances that we have on the server. And then we ask them to reapply when they've played a little bit more. We also deny for other reasons and things like that, behavior and stuff like that. So, Yeah, if you have questions about that, just ask in the Discord. I'm sure a bunch of people will answer you, or just if you're new to the server, you have an Ask an Admin channel in the Discord that you can ask an admin or moderator.
They're
Very
very
good. I
friendly.
am gonna go ahead and post the website into the chat really quick. You can find lots of good information there, as well as the rules that I have. The biggest rule, our first and foremost rule, don't be a jerk, is on the screen right now. But there are more to look over. I think
That used to be the only rule.
that used to be the only rule, yeah. I remember that. It's expanded a little bit. But I do still think that that's like the golden rule of the server, is just don't be a jerk. And I think you have a pretty good shot at becoming whitelisted if you just have a good understanding of the rules, because once you are following the rules, it kind of, it's hard to mess up. And if you have everyone's best interests at heart, then your whitelist application should look pretty good, I would think.
Yeah, overall, the goal of the server is to have fun and tell a good story and have fun interactions and just enjoy yourself. So if you're doing that, I think you're good. Don't do things to like hurt or ruin other people's time. Like, you got to realize there's other people on the side of the computer. Like, you're not just playing a game where you can just screw with everybody. Like, you got to make sure that what you do is also fun for the person that you're doing it to or with.
Yep. I think
It does require a certain amount of trust to do that.
yeah.
Yes.
Most
Yeah.
of the people in the server that are community members are pretty trustworthy.
Yes, definitely, definitely.
I think
Well,
that
Catelyn?
trust is pretty a big deal here, because we're putting a lot of trust in all the people that are playing and all the people we're role playing with, and I think that's a good segue for talking about what organic roleplay means for Doug, what that means to each of us. I know that we have some guidance on the website about what it looks like and what we expect. I can read directly from the website if people would like, because I did make sure to get that. So they have on the website, it says organic roleplay means no rules that force play style. Every interaction and every threat is real. DayZ is a game that thrives off of the unknown danger and interactions between people. It keeps you on edge because you never know what to expect. When we founded Doug, we felt the traditional roleplay mindset was actually in conflict with the core elements that make DayZ exciting. In particular, rules like no kill on sight completely remove an important part of the game, which is unpredictable player interactions. By only encouraging our players to interact with one another and to create stories, we keep the sandbox element of DayZ fully intact, and there are no artificial rules that force you to interact in a certain way or even roleplay in the first place. And every encounter will be unpredictable. All friendly interactions are genuine, and stories are created naturally. I think that's a really good summarization, and I like to emphasize roleplay is not required to play here, which keeps things interesting.
All play
Yeah,
styles.
it sure
Yeah,
does.
so we want the danger. We want the spontaneous things to happen. Like, we don't want it to be, I hate to say it, because like other servers do this and they have like 34-page of rules, and I was looking at one the other day and it was overwhelming, like how much they need you to understand and know before you go into it. We want you to play DayZ the way DayZ was meant to be played. It was meant to be chaotic. It was meant to be ridiculous. You're meant to run into strange characters and people and go on adventures with people you've never met and survive and get killed and try again. Like, we want all of that. Yes, most of the community is interaction focused and roleplay focused, but you do not have to do that. You can just be a guy who tries to survive. You can just go farm somewhere. You can just travel around and stay to yourself and be a hermit in the woods. Like, you can do all of that.
I did that for the first
And that
2
what's
weeks.
make me too. Yeah.
You did.
That's I stayed in 3 valleys for like 6 months almost. Like,
Really?
very rarely.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, this lady up here dragged me in kicking and screaming to roleplay. So,
Well,
I
You did that. I didn't.
But it was all the people that was around me. It was Kat, it was Iris, it was Charlie, it was all of the people that I ran into that watching them interact with other people. That kind of, I was not a role player. I'd never been involved in theater. I'd never been involved in D&D, anything of the sort. I was very shy, and I think that is what, Doug is what gave me my love for role play, and it has been a heck of a ride. I don't know what year it was, Andy. I don't know if you recall when
It was
around
like
when that was. It was about
4 or 5 years ago.
4 or 5 years ago. Yeah, I have since taken breaks, and I go back and forth. I do also a little bit of Red Dead role play, but primarily right now I'm in DayZ again with Mamie. But I really want to stress to people that you don't have to compare yourselves to anybody else. You don't have to worry that your interaction is going to falter if you run into one of us, for example, that you have to be afraid of us. Be yourself, do the best you can with your character, and don't worry about whether or not you get the voice right. Don't worry about all of that stuff. It's silly. Just enjoy the ride, because I'll tell you what, when there's a story behind what you do, you will never enjoy it more. Never.
I like.
Yeah,
I think
that
the
was well
atmosphere
said.
of the organic roleplay on Doug, because I've been playing it for so long. I basically grew up on Doug, and when I after I switched, so a couple years ago, I went and I started playing Red Dead, um, and it was just so different because there were so many rules, and so it was kind of like a learning curve, and like it can be a tad more restrictive when you have a lot of those rules. And I wasn't used to it at the time either, because I was used to Doug, which was like, roleplay is what it is, and the KOS adds kind of to that realism of that apocalyptic fear feeling of like, I could get shot at any moment, I should probably be careful. Stuff like that. And it happens, you get shot and you go back to the coast and then you start over and whatever. Like, that's a part of everything that is Doug. But the organic roleplay that comes out of that also, when you find someone who in character you relate to, or you join a group, or whatever happens, you have an interaction with Dan where you get kidnapped for a while, like, like, there's stuff that happens, and
I don't
it's
know anything
not
about that.
scripted, it's not planned, like, it just happens, and then you kind of make a story together out of it, which is the great thing about organic roleplay, is that cooperative aspect of it.
And that trust. And that
And that
trust.
trust. So, and you also have to realize, like, that win mentality that can happen sometimes when things don't go the way that you maybe wanted them to. Like, you got to think about the other person who's role playing with you, and like how this story could be good. Like, story is king, I always say. So for me, at least, so I can roll with whatever happens, good, bad, whatever. I will turn it into my character developing and things happening. So yeah, that's my spiel.
She knows how to keep it in character.
Yes, she does. Yes, she does. Infuriatingly so at times.
I think that's
I think
probably the biggest thing about roleplay, is being able to separate what happens in the game and trying to just keep it and not take it outside and not take it personally. I think that was one of the hardest things for me when I started role-playing on Doug, is just try to let it ride and not take it personal and not get my actual cat feelings involved with my DayZ cat feelings.
Yeah, it's hard to keep emotions out of it sometimes, because
In-
you're so
investment.
invested. Yeah, you're
Yes.
so invested in the
invested,
story and
yeah.
the characters and the people you're playing with, and like one of them gets hurt or one of them doesn't get the moment that they deserved, or so like it's hard. Like, sometimes it's
Yeah.
really difficult. And I think you, like, saying like the win mentality that like you can get with playing DayZ, and like the gear fear and things like that. Like, you have certain things on you don't want to lose, or you're in a fight and you should have won it and you didn't, and like then you're frustrated. Like, take a minute, breathe, it's
Yeah,
okay.
take a minute,
It'll
take 10
it's
seconds,
gonna
brush
happen.
the tab,
Yeah, like don't go.
walk away for
Nothing
a little bit
ever.
while you're staring at your dead screen or
Yeah,
whatever. Just
nothing's
walk
ever
away
gonna
for a
go the
Nothing
way you
is
want it
ever going
to.
to go the way you want it to. You can have the best laid plans. You can have, okay, this is kind of the arc for the story that I want. This is what I want my character to do. But I guarantee you that
at an organic
90% of the time it is never going to go the way, but 90% of the time it also turns out better for it.
Yeah, and no one's. I don't want to say no one because like some people are jerks, but no one's no one's trying to make you angry. Like most of the people that you're interacting with are actually doing it because they think it
even
would
the
be
bad
more
guys.
fun. Even the bad guys. Like a lot of people give like FL bad rep because they're jerks. They're jerks in game for a reason. That's their characters. They're not actually. I mean, some of them are. I'm just kidding.
I was like, oh no, he's about to do it.
I'm just kidding, Joe. That one was for you. No, like they're doing it for the reaction, and they're doing it to play the character, and they're not doing it to actually personally attack you. They're dicks because it's more fun if not everyone's a good guy. Like they're not personally attacking you. It's not a personal thing. Don't take it personally. Play the story out. Play it how you would as a character. If they're dicks and you're gonna be an asshole back, be an asshole back. Like that's they want that interaction back and forth just as much as a good guy wants a good interaction.
Consequences are a thing.
The thing that
if you fight back, that they're
yeah, exactly. The thing is, you always have to realize that there's a line that you can cross, and I think that's the hardest thing, right now with Mamie is like you don't want your character to be shown as a weak character, but at the same time, if you buck up against a group like DAM or FL or the Blackthorns, there's always a consequence. And I'm always kind of the school that if I fire a shot, as much as sometimes I feel like I want to, but if I fire a shot, it's over, and so I try to kind of restrain at the same time. But that balance, finding that balance of keeping your character from seeming like a complete and utter wet noodle, it can be hard. It can be hard when you're playing a good guy anyway.
Being a wet noodle is also valid if you really want to be a wet noodle.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, my character I think has only killed like 12 people in 5 years on Doug. Like Matt has only ever, and I know the names of each person that I've killed, and it was all in self-defense. I was never the aggressor. But on Glenn, my cop character, I killed like 3 people the other night because I'm just chaotic. I'm just the circumstances were right. It had to be done.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's there's a weird balance between like just like doing the KOS thing for story or because you're in a survival situation. You're on your if they see you or you're gonna get shot, like you're dead. So like if you want your character to survive, like sometimes you got to do it. But yeah, being the good guy is hard, and also being a bad guy is very hard.
I think being a bad guy is the hardest. Being a bad guy is definitely the hardest.
Yeah, it's a difficult like line to toe.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
I do like being a bad guy. It just, and I feel like I really like the RP that all of the like good people do. I don't want to lay blanket statement and say this person's a good person, this one's a bad person, because I think that a lot of us have quite complex characters actually, and have complicated thoughts in character about what to do. And that's reality, really. People are not all just black or white. We're all shades of gray. And I just get drawn to hostile and psychopathic behavior because I find it freeing in my roleplay. I can just decide anything, really, on the fly. There's no morality really holding me back. So I tend to run around as characters where I go for more chaos than evil. I think that naturally some things will be seen as evil, of course. But I'm not going out there with, like, twirling my mustache, being like, I'm going to be evil. It's more just like, I might befriend a
Yeah.
person and they'll think that I'm their friend. And they'll be like, wow, I'm surprised that this absolute psychopathic Kuru lady is being nice to me. And that's chaotic because
You
they
just
totally
wait.
expected me to just kill them or whatever. And then later on down the line, like poor maybe I kidnap one of their good friends and take them all the way back to GM and torture them. And then she's like, well, what the heck? We were just talking and you were so nice to me. I'm like,
Yeah.
anything
Polly
goes.
is great. She's great. And then there again is that trust. You know, I knew I was taking a risk going to the gate, but I also knew that the people who were role playing behind that gate were role players. I knew that I could depend on them, and whatever they did is what I have to live with as a character. So my choices, you know, that I made, I was aware walking up to that gate I could get shot. But again, you know, thank God it actually worked out really well, I think. I feel like you guys kind of got robbed, but you know, by that gas thing. But I mean, other than that, the interaction was tremendous. And it was, I mean, all of us standing there and just everybody that was involved in that. I don't know, that's that trust thing. And I thought it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, you basically described having that trust in another person, that they have like a genuine out of character desire to do something cool with you. And so you bounce off each other with that trust. And you're like, okay, I'm going to throw you this because I trust you're going to do something with it, something cool. And then you bounce it back to me. And it really is a game of trust, because especially when you're dealing with me in game.
No shit. Yeah.
It's like, oh God, I hope she does something cool with this because I'm crazy. But I know that I have it up on the screen, having genuine OOC intentions and purpose for all your interactions or RP. I think keeping that in mind all the time, you can't really go wrong. Something cool is going to happen. It's logging into Doug and being like, I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm going to make it work, and I'm going to make the best story out of it as I can. And
I can guarantee you that you run to any one of these people that are here now in game, and they will give you their very best. They will give you their very best every single time.
Yeah, it's all about having fun. That's it. It's just, I want to play a game and forget my life for a little while and enjoy just being ridiculous on a DayZ server, and that's it. That's what it's all about.
Yes, sir. I think going into talking about the trust and roleplay and stuff, I think that's also what gives a lot of tension to interactions too, is because the KOS is allowed. And so it's like you could be talking to someone and you could feel like you've known them and something could happen, and it's like in character. It's like, do I really trust this person 100%? And it adds flavor to everything, I feel like. And I like it.
Those freshy interactions where like,
oh yeah,
you're coming up from the coast, you meet somebody else who you've never met before, who's also a freshie, and you're like, did I trust them?
Yeah, it's that fear.
Yeah.
It's that fear. I don't trust anybody.
But he could also like turn around and smack you if you give him too much help, you know. So it's like that.
You know,
apocalyptic feeling is very real.
The grit and the grind of what Doug is what makes it unique. Definitely.
Yeah, the hardcoreness, definitely.
Yeah, it is. It's harder than any other DayZ server I've ever been on. I mean, in terms of, you know, learning things, but we're all here to help, you know, in role play and out of it.
So. People get off the coast every day.
Yes, they do. They do. They do.
Some people don't.
Some people don't. Yeah.
And some people spend a lot of time on it too.
Some people set up a school and live down there like that. You still can't get off the coast.
Yeah. One thing I do want to add, though, also, when it comes to trust, I mean, I know all of these people pretty well here out of character, but there are people I don't know out of character that I've had to learn to trust by example. And a good example of that would be Buttons from the Clowns, Mittens from the Clowns, the Fireflies. There's Poopy, especially Poopy from Damn. I've really had to kind of, I don't know that person, you know, but I know that the role play that person has shown me in character so far has gained my trust. So it's hard sometimes because you don't know who's sitting on the other side. But if they're giving you something, I can guarantee you that if you give them back, they will keep giving. And sometimes, like I said, it's not going to go the way you want it to go. It certainly isn't going the way Mamie wanted it to go, but it is so much fun and it's so much more rewarding when you kind of let go a little bit. So just, keep your eyes out for people that just because you don't know them out of character doesn't mean that you can't trust them in role play. And it's a dance. It really is.
It kind of
I think
reminded
it's
me
all
of
roleplay.
the win mentality that Matt mentioned earlier. I feel like I have a loser mentality.
Yeah.
I feel like I go through Doug
Same.
with the loser mentality. Like, okay, I'm gonna
think
let them
Mamie
have
has
this
the
win.
same
Like, because I think my Discord about me is like natural nat ones build character. I just, if I gotta be the loser to make a good story, I'm more than happy to be the loser.
Amen to that.
Amen.
Yeah,
Well,
actually, I think like a story has to have it doesn't have to have a winner and a loser, but it has to have someone in a weird predicament or like
Yeah.
something it has to have a
Yeah, the
struggle or
power
a
dynamics, the ups and
conflict.
downs,
Yeah.
Yeah.
conflict,
There
especially
has to
played
be
by
there has to be
conflict.
opposites. There has to be people that get the crap end of the stick. Like it has to happen. Like my like Matt character is literally like he just puts himself in the worst positions possible and then tries to get out of them.
Have
Like
no-
that's the whole thing. It was
no idea what you're talking about at
Yeah.
all, Matt. None.
but
Oh,
it's
yeah, right.
I find that like gameplay so much harder and so much more fun because I'm like, how the hell am I gonna fix this
Definitely.
Get out of
situation
this,
or
yeah.
survive this or like that's what's fun for me. Like some people don't like that. Some people like to be on the winning side of things all the time or like have the upper hand all the time. I thrive and I
Yes.
enjoy
We are big
Being the
losers and we love it.
underdog.
being the underdog and like trying
Yeah.
to figure it
Yeah.
out. And like sometimes I don't, and that's okay. And
Yeah.
it's frustrating sometimes, but like other times I'm like, holy shit, I made it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's the fun
Yeah.
part. That's what I want.
I like that.
Hey, at the end of the day, even if a character dies, and I'll let Kat go more into that about perma and stuff because she had some things to say about that. But in the end, sometimes a character dying is a way to give other people more story. So if your death makes sense and it's going to create and generate story for other people, it's a win. It's not a loss. It's a win. Absolutely.
For sure.
It makes me think of while you guys were talking and Matt was talking about being the underdog. It makes me think of Andy on the run for a long
God, I was
time.
running
You were
for, like,
you played
like a
someone
while.
so vulnerable for so long, but you stuck it out. And I always think about that story. That's such a great story that you told doing that. You were all alone.
sucked.
You lost everybody, and it was
I did. I lost literally. It was really hard, that storyline, because, and the thing is, I like knew when I killed John that I knew I was like, Volk is gonna be after me. Fucking these people are gonna, but I didn't realize like the whole fucking server would be fucking after me. And I was just like, well, I guess I can't go anywhere. I was lucky enough to have the few friends that I did that I was able to have, some moments of interaction. And I was determined as well because I'm like, it was hard, but I was like, I need to get on in place to like give people the opportunity to find her and, be a part of that.
I know I think about that perseverance a lot. Like she could have just logged off
She was
and
the
not shown
paragon of
up.
perseverance. That was her
But
whole shtick. That was her thing. So I had to play it out. But and I think the end of that story was fucking so worth it. I was like more than happy with the end of that. And also Walter and John, Walter was the one that killed me ultimately. But oh my god. Like I had so much, like when I did, like I got caught by Dam for a little bit during that time period and I was like, I'm dead. Like Walter's going to get me, like somebody's gonna, and they were like, we're gonna sell you, and then they were gonna sell me to the cult, and I somehow got out of that interaction without dying, which was like the whole time I was captured, I was like, Andy was so depressed and just like, I can't, it doesn't matter, nothing matters, blah blah blah. And then the time came and they were about to shoot her, and I literally just went, and I ran away, and they were like, I thought you wanted to die. It's like this whole thing. And there was some clever trickery in the video that I put out at the time, but they actually did shoot me down. But then I immediately got messaged and was like, you don't have to perma for that if you really wanted to like live. And I'm glad I did, because yeah, Walter getting that kill at the end of the day, and that was also very something I didn't expect. The only person that ever caught me as Andy twice, caught me for Dam and caught me for Walter, was this guy named K9 who was a ranger. I don't know if he was like magic or I don't know, he was just a really good player. I don't know what his deal was, but he found me both times. Um and yeah, and that scene with Walter at the end was like, this is it. I knew it. I was like, as soon as I heard Walter was the one that had captured me, I was like,
There's nothing better
it was it.
than a meaningful death
It
from
was
any
very meaningful.
perspective.
But the
Yeah.
other thing was that John and Walter, after I had died, immediately, like for the next week, was checking to make sure I was okay, because I'd played this character for a long time. And John knew how it felt, because when he killed his character, to me, he felt the loss, and and you do get attached to these characters and you do have that investment
Yeah.
when you play them
yeah.
for so many years, and you're like, you were invested in their story, and then when it ends, it's like losing a friend. It's like this weird thing that happens.
You think it's not gonna affect you that much. I remember Andy warning me several times. Jezreel, I didn't feel so bad about it. I feel like Jezreel wasn't really a role. I wasn't really a role player so much at the time, and that was my first introduction to role play. So I didn't feel too bad. I felt like her end was good and appropriate. But I will say that the permas I have since done over the years that I've role played, it makes me think of Bonkertons and Gary a little bit. He's never permanent character, and it might come to that with him. And it makes me think of people like that, and just to be supportive of them, because I'm telling you, you think it's nothing, but when you lose that character, you lose all of your connections, you lose everything. Every person that you know is just out of the box, no longer in your scope of thinking, and you start all over from scratch again. So all of a sudden you're walking in with a new character and you're like, oh my God, I don't know, for example, the Greenie and the Coalition anymore. I don't know Ember anymore. None of these connections that I would have would be there. And I think that's what gets to you. So it's something to think about and be ready for.
Yeah,
For
and
sure.
also being used to playing a character for so long, you get used to their mindset, you get used to their mannerisms and their
Mm.
way of thinking. And to play somebody else and not have that history and that, that development that you've had for however many years, it sucks. It really is like losing a friend, because you know that person so well. It's a weird thing, but yeah, I was very fortunate that the people that killed me were so genuinely nice and helped me.
Perming a character
and
is
the-
very
the-
bittersweet for sure. It's like I found it both sad but also relieving to perma. I
was glad I wasn't on the run anymore.
Yeah, like
There was that, but
I felt
don't
like
know
I was
how-
simultaneously ready but also not ready. But it just
how
felt
did
like
you-
time.
What was that? Can you tell us a little bit about, your perma with Kat?
Well, unfortunately, it was something I had been thinking about doing, but I had some real life circumstances that interrupted my story, basically. I ended up moving overseas. I got pregnant. So I couldn't play. I couldn't play the way that I was playing. It kind of just abruptly interrupted what I was doing. I kept writing stories, and I came back a handful of times while I was living overseas, but I was on the other side of the world. Like, the time difference from everyone that I was playing with before was massive, and it just became really hard to keep the story going. And so what I ended up doing is I sat on it for a long time. I wrote some stories in the meantime. And then finally I kind of mourned my story and mourned my character, because it just didn't continue on the way I wanted it to, and it was a little bit out of my control. But I was like, I don't want to shelf this character for however long it takes for me to be able to get back to it. I think it just makes way more sense, and it's healthier for my group that I'm playing in. It's healthier for the server in general, and it's probably healthier for me, because I had huge FOMO Oh my gosh, seeing all my friends continue on and I couldn't join, I was just like, there were times where I genuinely cried because my life had changed so much. So I reached out to someone that in character was like a mentor to my character. His name is Alter Doran, if anybody remembers him. He was the mentor character to my Dam character. He like watched her as a war boy and was there the whole time, and then he ended up rebooting the Forsaken Loyalists back then, bringing them all back, and he left Gorka. But I contacted him and I was like, "Hey, I can't really play, but I really want a perma, and I want you to do it. Are you down?" And I sent what I call my magnum opus. It's probably the best story that I wrote in my own opinion.
Oh, it was good.
It was like
was
a
good.
3-parter story of her, finding him and getting into contact with him, and I really am proud of that story, and I was really happy that he agreed. But he kills her. He mercy kills her. She's sick with Kuru. I was role playing that I was actively dying. I was role playing I was dying with Kuru because I'm like, Kuru will eventually kill you.
Yeah.
So I was role playing that I couldn't hold my gun up anymore. And the times that I was able to get in and play, I was roaming the West where I knew everybody wanted me dead. I was just running around by myself, like, please, somebody find me and kill me. Like, somebody please capture me and do something. Nobody ever did. A black sheep saw me out west and just stood there and was kind of just shocked that they saw me. And I was like, I see you.
Like,
And I talked to them and they just were like, if I don't move, maybe she won't see me. And I was like, I see you there.
Yeah. You were scary. I'm sorry. Kat was scary, man. She was scary.
But I was practically begging for death at the end and I just couldn't find anybody. So I just had to do it through a story.
aw.
Yeah. I wanted to give it to somebody. I really did. I was like, somebody from the 506, somebody, anybody really. I was like, anybody that might have a grudge against her, I hope they find me. I kind of felt like you, Andy, running, but except I was just out in the open with all my
You were just
stuff
like,
on.
"Someone
I was like,
find me."
here I am, please come get me. And I just couldn't find anybody because of the time difference. Nobody was around when I was around.
You know what I loved also about Jezreel that I remember one of the moments I remember specifically is Andy was the one who told me, you're on the run, so you need, make sure you're fair and available for people to chase. And I remember one day running around with a radio on, and I think Kat and Charlie were on the radio. And it was like one of the best experiences I ever had. I think you almost caught me at one time. I think I saw you and ditched, but you guys were so good on the radio. I mean, I can't even remember exactly what it was. I think it was a little bit of story time kind of type thing at one point, and then it was just a lot of egging each other on and being hunted and that sort of thing. But you guys were really good, and I do remember that. Being on the run is fun. I'm just gonna say, it is kind of
Not in
fun.
my experiences.
I mean, it's exciting and scary, but like I was ready. I mean, I was just waiting
I mean,
for
apparently
whatever
there were
came.
people who saw me that could have killed me but missed the opportunity or something, and I was like, I had no idea. Like Toronto, who I didn't expect to be somebody who would try to kill me.
I expected to get caught by Dam, not by George. That's for sure.
Oh yeah,
I
that's
yeah.
right. George was the one
Yeah.
that caught you. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was clever how he did though. Like props to him for that.
I really thought it was Lou. I thought it was Volka because I didn't know them well enough. And he had that French accent down. The minute I knew it was wrong was when I looked over at the one who was trying to pretend to be Shadow. And it was Zerka. And I saw the blonde hair and I'm like, oh, fuck. I was like,
oh no.
Yeah, oh shit. Yeah. But it was, I expected it to be Dam, but it ended up being George. So
I was also when Kaylee died. I don't remember what my thought process was right then, honestly, because like Iris captured me like from like I was with Brock and I think Logan
Yeah.
woods somewhere near
At
Colorado,
Overlook.
and they
It
like,
was it
oh,
was an
was it
Overlook.
it was an
Yeah.
Overlook, that's right.
Yeah.
And they just like rolled up and like took her away. That kind of thing.
Boy, we are
So
waxing nostalgic here today, I'll tell you what.
yeah.
For
But I
sure.
remember being in that room because I kind of had the feeling that the whole baby thing was, I don't remember how much I knew or didn't know at the time, but I knew that they wanted, like, I think they had mentioned or something on the radio, or I don't remember what, that they were like, we're going to take your baby, something like that. So I knew after I had gotten captured and put in that room, I was like, this is probably a perma situation. If and the black sheep fought their hearts out. I heard them shooting outside. They did their very best to get her back, but damn was such a force at the time. Like, it was very difficult. And then when Iris had that emergency and sort of, had to time out for a second, and then you were there, and I was like,
Yeah, yeah.
if I could just get to her somehow and get out
The
of here.
the video is hilarious too, because I really
is
didn't know what to do.
hilarious.
I was like, is this bitch trying to role play with me? Don't.
But after, like, she shot me, and I was like, I think this is a permeable situation. I felt like, I don't know, I was just like, yeah, this is it. It was a little different with Kaylee. It wasn't exactly like losing Andy, because Kaylee, yes, I was invested in her story and everything, but it because I had a little experience with it previously. I was like, okay, this is a perma situation. I'm going to do the thing, and because they played it out so well, I was like, well, I'm just going to give it to them, and they can just have the baby, and like, I didn't really want to play out being pregnant that long anyway, so I was like, this is fine. And it gave, conflict between the black sheep and Dam to kind of have. I think they had a little bit of a war for a bit, and then, eventually they sorted that out. But having Jez be the one that took the prize away was like, I was like, yes. She ran away with the baby.
There were some other people that were not very happy about that. That was a rough one.
But I think it made the story better, honestly.
I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know what I was doing.
Heart of hearts, that's why Iris gave you the baby, because
she was something else. She was good. Iris
coming a mile away. That woman.
She was a force, and she put a lot of time and thought into the stories that she created. Draven's execution was a total shock to me.
Oh my God!
I was standing there watching
it happen.
To
him too.
I don't think
he knew that
it was. They kept
it cat. Yeah,
which is wild. Imagine not. No, that's insane.
Yeah. No joke. We planned Draven's assassination for a very long time in character. We would go off alone and have talks about it, and we very slowly, like, we would approach other Dan members in private in character and be like, this is what's being plotted. Are you in or are you out? If you're out, don't do that.
Yeah.
You don't have a choice.
Yeah. And it was really, really fun to do that
I think at the time I was still just a war boy, because I didn't know a thing about it. So when I was standing there, I was like, what the actual fuck just happened? I had I was just stunned into silence, honestly, but I was very happy that I got to be there for it. That was quite a scene.
Draven was quite shocked as well. I remember.
Yeah, he was in the middle of eating dinner.
He was not expecting it at all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was OOC eating dinner, and then he's.
Mm-hmm.
Well, maybe just so that we don't, run too long for Matt here and the rest of the folks, so we can get in and start our peeing. Cat, what else did we have on the agenda that you wrote there?
Well, that was basically the final topic. I wanted to talk about dying and just deciding to perma, because you die a lot in DayZ. And so it's
oh God, get used to that.
I mean, you die a lot, and we come up with all kinds of ways to talk about it without saying we died. I know a lot of people who are watched Gary die, but he's not actually dead. And we come up, sometimes it just kind of happens through roleplay where we figure out that people didn't die, but I sometimes do like to contact people out of character and just be like, hey, that didn't really go how we wanted it to go. And I just
Yeah.
want to know where you're at, so we're on the same page. And I encourage people to reach out to other people you're role playing with out of character occasionally and check in with them and be like, how are you liking what's going on? How's that story
Yeah.
going for you? How,
Playlist.
you know, I'm not asking for like, tell me your whole plot, tell me your whole, you know, story that you're thinking of doing, but just touch base. Are you good? I especially do that because I'm torturing and maiming and doing all kinds of crazy stuff to people. So I like to touch base and just be like, "Are we good? Am I going too hard on you?" Like yeah.
Especially when it comes to like if you kill someone and just double checking if it's because it's up to every
If they're
person
okay with it, yeah.
I also think it's important to mention the hero complex. You know, it would be very easy as a character who's playing a lawful good character to really want that, you know, you feel that itch to pull the trigger, you feel that itch to be the hero. And sometimes being the hero doesn't look like what you think it looks like. Nothing that we do, any of us, is scripted. Nothing. Everything that we do is simply playing off of each other. And always, as a good character, the challenge is like there was a situation last night where the Blackthorns came up to the House of Hope. No, well, that was one, but actually the biggest one I can remember is Dam came up and Poopy was there. And now, for those of you who know the story with Mamie right now, Poopy has caused a little bit of ruckus in Mamie's life, to say the least. I was standing behind him in character. There was 2 of them and about 7 of us. And I thought it was very hard, not at that moment in character, to fight that urge to want to just put a bullet in the back of his head, you know. And sometimes you have to make those hard choices that you don't do things like that for the sake of story and for the sake of allowing things to carry on as much as you want to. It's really easy to want to save the day and be the hero, but honestly, at the end of the day, it can really fuck up a scene if you don't think about it. It can fuck up what other people have intended and planned. And bullets end role play. That's kind of the way I feel about it. Bullets immediately, once things degenerate to gunfire, any chance of any kind of dialogue is pretty slim. So I always think really hard about what my choices are in any given situation, and I would implore people to do the same always, because something better can come out of it. There is a time for bullets, most definitely, but you kind of know. I think you kind of feel it when it's time.
I think once you get into it and once you understand like what's going on, like most people on the server aren't just gonna go shoot up a place if it isn't for a story. You know, like you may like the House of Hope may get shot up. Most of the people that are members of the community or longtime members of the community, if they're shooting it up, they want you to push back. They want you guys to be like, oh, we know it was Blackthorn, and we're gonna go down there and go try to have this, figure out why the hell they did that, and then have the back and forth, because that's the fun part, is the back and forth. Not the. But like, I mean, you're gonna die. I've never permed, so I'm learning a lot from you guys.
It's also nice.
Everyone thought you did for a while.
I'm working. So there's only been 2 times where I almost.
I see your question for. I'll get you a minute.
One time was the cult kidnapped me and stabbed me to death by accident. I could have permed then. It was. I thought about it, but it was not intended that I died. So I continued, which that would have been a fine ending for my character. I would have taken that all day. And then the other time was when I needed a break from playing that because it was getting exhausting, and I was going through a lot of like OOC stuff and in-game stuff, and I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. And I didn't want to kill Matt, so I was like, you know, I'll take a little break and make people think I'm dead for a bit.
That's always an option too. Always.
Yeah.
I do have somebody that has a question here.
Yeah, I think this is a great time to just open up and take questions, because I feel like we've touched on everything.
4 Cups has asked, as someone new to RP, I've found it difficult not to get involved in some of the existing stories unfolding around me. Do you have any advice for people such as myself with the content of existing plot lines? I will tell you this for me, and then I'll leave it open to the others. From my perspective, if I throw something at you, if I say something to you, if I in any way interact with you in a scene, that is an invitation to join the role play. So that, from my perspective, that is as far as advice on how to bleed into it naturally without seeming like you're inserting yourself. I'll leave that to these guys.
Uh, well, he said, what did he ask? The context of exiting? Like
As someone
not
new to
being
role
involved?
play, he's found it difficult not to get involved in some of the existing stories unfolding. Do we have any advice for people within the
Entering.
Yeah.
Entering, yes. So I guarantee most of the people who role play are like, because it's a collaborative storytelling kind of medium, um, they want people to get involved most of the time. The way that you do that most of the time is if you're involved with the character, and I'm trying to think of an example of like getting involved sort of gradually and not just like jumping in and taking too big of a piece or something. I'm trying to think. Maybe you just have a conversation. If it's like a friend of yours in character or something and you hear something happening.
I got
Like
one. For example, Mamie needs escorts because she has to get somewhere safely. So I'll run around and I will say, "Hey, is there anybody here who can follow along with us? We need to get somewhere safely." There's your invitation right there. It's that simple.
those are pretty good.
Yeah, I think. Oh, go ahead.
No, you go.
I think if you're overhearing a conversation or if you're in an area where like an interaction is happening, there's two sides of it. So there is playing along with it, but you only know what your character knows. So don't like take it too far and take over the story, or try not. I always try not to personally, but I will take things that I overhear or interactions that I'm luckily enough to be in front of, and I'll play that in like, how does this affect my character, and how can I like add to it? Like it's yes and they do that in improv comedy, and it's always yes and. So like they're like, oh, we're gonna go do this. I'm like, okay, and I need to do this over here if you guys are okay with that, and I kind of drag them into my story, or like add to it. Don't take it over. Don't don't try to like insert yourself as like the main character if somebody else has got something going on, but feel free to like add your own little weird twist on it.
Yeah.
And follow along if they have an open invite like that,
Yeah.
and they're like, oh, we're gonna go do this thing. I need
Almost
everybody
everything
to
I
go.
do, and always has been, is to bring as many people into the fold as I possibly can into a story, because story is amazing. I just do it. And sometimes it's to my own detriment. Sometimes, you invite people in that you probably shouldn't. Sometimes it gets my character into a lot of trouble, and that's all right. That's all right. Cause it's all about story, but it is knowing when to back down, and I tend to be this kind of charismatic, very vocal character, and
No.
sometimes I have to pull myself in a little bit, and I have friends that Andy primarily, who kind of reminds me sometimes, of those things, and I mean, we all get carried away, so you don't need to be afraid of that. But if you hear something,
And the other
open
thing
up
you can
dialogues
do,
with people too,
that
talk
it's
to
like
people.
if it's a friend of yours that you overhear something about, maybe go talk to the friend and be like, hey, I've heard this thing. What's that about? And like maybe they entrust you with whatever secret is happening or whatever. Um, or if it's something you overhear that's like, I don't know, a bad person that you want to, you hear something bad about a person. And maybe you don't have the whole context of what it is, but you like have that piece. Um, just like going and find if there's any names mentioned, if there's any of that, you go maybe poke around in those areas, those territories, meet some people. It's just one of those things. You just gotta You know,
But don't be
use your best
scared. We
judgment.
don't
Yeah.
bite.
Don't be scared.
Cat
I
bites.
agree.
9 times
Cat
out of
bite.
Yeah,
10.
cat will probably kill you,
Love
but the rest of
that.
us.
My
I think,
my approach to
Don't do that.
roleplay, because of how just who I like to play, is I pretty much will force you to roleplay with me. So you
Yeah,
won't have
I
a
think
question
that way
whether or
too.
not if
we're
I'm
all that
talking
way.
to you, you're role
In a
playing with
different
me.
way. Yeah, that's
Amen.
my thing. You
Yeah.
might rob or kill or, you know, do torturous things to people. I'm like, because I'm a historian right now, I will literally go up to someone and be like, "Hey, what group are you in? How did you get into that group? Where are you from? Where did you grow up? Where did you?" And I'll just like be asking all these questions, and I'm like, "You're role playing with me. I don't even care if you
Yeah.
do or not. I'm gonna ask you all these questions."
and then she'll use it all against you.
Yeah.
I'll
Yeah.
write it all down and
Yeah.
have all of the things.
So I don't see any more questions in my stream. I don't know
I
if you
do
guys
have a
any
couple
more.
of questions in mine.
Mhm.
I basically agree with everything you guys said about joining into stories that are going on around you as a new person. I think if you're overhearing things, all of that, like, I think that's basically like most people know that they're talking in proximity to you
Yeah,
and that you are
that's
hearing
the
what they're
thing.
saying. So
Yes,
I think if it feels right for your character, if you have an idea of who your character is and what their motivations are, and it makes sense for you to pursue something like that you overheard, follow your heart, follow your roleplay heart, and go do it.
Also, as an example of overhearing something that you probably shouldn't have, which actually made the basis for all, like, Andy's whole story started basically because she overheard the wrong fucking conversation. I hate to say this, but that's how it started. Like, I was loosely associated with what would be the Firekeepers, just as like a group. It was before they were Firekeepers. They were just kind of a group that kind of hung out together. And I, like, Tex had a conversation with somebody in like a barn, and I was like sneaking around with an, like, I just overheard things, and then the guy that he was talking to came out and was like, "I hear someone," like, because I didn't know, again, I was sort of new to DayZ at the time. I didn't know about the rustling, you know, thing. And he comes around and he was gonna like shoot me right there and then. And Tex had to be like, she's gonna be one of the Firekeepers. She's gonna be one of the she's my responsibility. He saved my life and all that. And so I had to be a Firekeeper at that point, even though at the time Andy had a real problem with authority and did not want to be a part of that group. But she was kind of forced to because of that situation, and that started the whole arc of, you know, development and things.
Don't
So
be
sometimes
scared.
overhearing things.
Don't be scared. Overhearing is on purpose. I talk
Overhearing
loudly
is
sometimes in character on purpose.
Yep.
and even if
Also,
it's not on
when it
purpose,
comes to
you gotta
talking
be-
loudly, though, I will add that if you are in an area where there are a lot of people role playing, unless you are intentionally wanting someone to overhear what you're saying, try to think of your volume. I have a very difficult time with that.
Yeah. Sometimes
Terrible
you
time.
forget, but
Yeah,
usually someone will gently or sternly remind you in game.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
I always am aware of my proximity. So if you hear something from me, it's on purpose.
Yeah. Yeah,
And if you're yelling
I-
on accident, oops, roleplay it. People
Yeah,
hear
exactly.
you.
Oh yeah, that does
Yeah.
happen too. That does happen. That does
Whoops.
happen.
Whoopsie.
So our next question that I have in the YouTube chat is, has there been a noticeable uptick in new people, and what are y'all's thoughts on new folks? I would say there has been a really noticeable
There has
uptick, and
been.
that's part of the reason why we wanted to do this, because we have noticed a lot of
Yeah.
new people coming in. We have been paying attention, that we're getting some attention, and I
mean,
actually
I think it's
approached
partially-
Andy and Jackie about this because they used to do this for Red Dead, and I was like, I think that's a really good idea. We should do that.
Yeah.
So that is part of the reason why we're here doing this today, is because we know there's a lot of new people.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
Yes.
server has been
upped-
very
when did
popular
it-
lately.
It upped
we
the amount of people, I think.
Yeah.
we
Like,
raised the
the-
server max pop to 90 recently because we had so many people and the queues were so long. It's not up to like hardcore levels where it was like a 40-man queue for 18 hours a day.
Oh my god, yeah.
But there's been a few days where it's been like 30, 40. We had up to
Mm-hmm.
50 something people waiting in queue a couple weeks ago, a few
My
weeks ago.
lord.
The server hit number 30 on Battlemetrics of all the servers, which is the highest we've been in a long time. We used to be in like the single digits back in the day when Doug was very popular. We've had some big streamers playing lately. TRMZ was on a couple weeks ago. We have Barnby playing what 3-4 times a week now. He loves the server, which was fantastic to see. I'm glad. It's really fun to witness someone experience Doug for the first time and like
Yeah.
actually like the process of not knowing what the hell you're doing and then slowly being like, oh, this is different. Like this,
Yeah.
some things
Mm-hmm.
I'm a character here. Like people know me, they remember me. I'm telling a story with all these other people at the same time, and like him, uh, being a new player, obviously an experienced DayZ player, but never doing something like this has been really fun to watch.
It
Very.
has been
Yeah,
very fun.
It has been fun.
I think a lot of people have been learning about Doug through him
Yeah.
and his live
Yeah.
streams, and I'm looking forward to what videos he makes from those because
Absolutely.
some of his stories have been absolutely ridiculous. And
Yes.
yeah,
Shout out to the Burnby Army. I
Yeah.
have quite a few
Yes,
of them
yes.
watching right now. So
As far as what we think of new people, I love it. I love it. I've run into several. Eugene, I can think of. I don't know if Eugene's around,
Oh
but
yes,
Eugene
I'll be right back.
Eugene was great.
He was
And
hilarious.
yeah, no, actually, I think that's one of the things. I was, I got kind of, I think KOS'd once, and I was kind of bummed about it because we were doing the middle of some role play, and I was kind of bummed about it. And I wake up on the coast, and here's this little guy fishing, and it was like one of the best interactions. And in five minutes, my attitude just changed because of that one interaction with this new person, and they were new. And sometimes with new, you have to put up with, they'll walk up to me when I'm streaming and they'll say, yeah, I'm new to the server. And you just kind of
Yeah.
giggle a little bit because you understand we don't
Yeah.
mind. We're
I
happy to help and teach, and that's what we're about.
Yeah. I've run into a few people who do that, and I'm just like, server, what do you mean? I kind of give the hint that like that's usually what role players do when they hear that stuff that's a little immersion breaking. It's just give it a little nudge that like I'm a role player, and that's I don't understand that because I'm in character right now. So if anyone says stuff like that, my usual go-to is like, are you a waiter? Are you a server? What? That's my usual thing. But depending on what you say, some people have some different responses to that. Or they'll just be like, I don't know what you're talking about. You're weird. You're crazy.
Yeah.
They're clearly hallucinating and going insane because they're talking about these things that don't exist. It's like they think they're in a circle. Stuff like that.
yeah.
So that's how you know if you come across somebody who starts being confused about why you're talking about these things, it's because they're usually a role player and they're in character. So
Yeah.
watch out for that.
Yeah. We're nerds. We're nerds.
Poor nerds.
And I was showing everybody earlier, I have my Fonzie with posable thumbs to prove it.
Yeah, I know Matt's a nerd. I can see all that stuff over there in the background.
Yeah,
It's like,
100%.
I love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I got shelves
I
like
just live
that
in this
too.
brick prison. That's where I live.
I think what
Lies.
you were saying about like the immersion breaking language and stuff for new players, I have a question that asks any thoughts or advice for someone that's getting started building their confidence with role playing. I think part of that is just eliminating some of those words from your language, and
Yeah. I mean, it slips out every once in a while. Even
it will for a while.
Jackie does it sometimes too.
Mhm.
I still do it. Yeah. I mean,
Sometimes.
It does
I-
happen, but just kind of going in with that in mind when you're talking to people. You're not in a server, you're in Chernoris.
Yeah.
Or how are you supposed to say it? Chernoris.
you can call it a country. I mean,
Yeah.
for that matter.
Yeah.
I'm
new to this land. I just got here.
Yeah,
All
there
of
you
these
go.
are
There you go.
acceptable explanations of why
I
we've
just
never
washed
seen
up
you
on
before.
shore.
I washed up on shore. I was shipwrecked, something like that, and kind of trying to start avoiding like I just started playing on this server and things like that. But nobody is gonna like
disparage you for doing that.
Yeah, no one's gonna
No.
be angry. We know that there is a lot of new folks, and I feel like we were talking about this earlier before we started the stream. I mentioned I feel like Doug is a stepping stone place for people where it's like this is the place where they first dip their toes into role playing because it's been open for so long, and then with the new like attention and surging popularity, we have a lot of new folks that are really doing it for the first time, seeing it for the first time, even some of them. And that was, I know that Jackie relates. I think I think probably all of us, maybe. This was also the first video game that I roleplayed in the first server I ever made a character and played as a character before.
Same here. Same here.
What was the first online role?
I was a pub scrub, a 100% pub scrub.
I've gotten so bad with Doug where I'm the opposite of like saying server in game. I actually was speaking caveman to my wife and she got mad at me and I started teaching my kid how to say caveman words.
Wow.
Oh,
So,
Lord.
yeah.
I haven't met your caveman yet.
Oh, yeah, I haven't played him a little bit, but he will be back
Nice.
with some friends. So
Nice. So
that's a fun character.
But yeah, don't be intimidated.
Don't be
Just go and try your
intimidated.
best.
We're
It's
all
okay
very
if you
excited.
slip up with those words.
we
Also,
are very
ask questions.
We are very gracious when it comes to that. We understand that not everyone is going to be a role player when they come in. Not everyone's going to know what to say or what to do. We just kind of, if you come across someone and they start being confused about it, just know that that's they're a role player and they're trying to kind of.
And just to touch a little on something that's very dear to me, I'm a psychiatric nurse in real life. And I kind of play that on Mamie as well. A lot of what I have in real life, I've kind of flooded over to Mamie because I find it interesting and it makes it easier to be a little more immersive. So one of the things I want to mention is that I know that a lot of people who play have social anxieties and are very, very, worried about large crowds of people, being around large crowds of people. And there are plenty of little pockets of us that you can pull aside at any time to get some role play experience. It doesn't have to involve being flooded and overwhelmed with the crowd. There's a place for everybody. And I think that role play is actually a really good way to exercise that social insecurities, the social insecurities that people have, and understand that, yes, I am a likable person. Yes, I am a person who can contribute and offer something to the people around me. And I think it's important to always remember that there is someone on the other side of that screen, and that whatever your interplay, whatever your interaction is with that person, remember that. Different people have different ways of communicating, and respect that as much as you can. Read cues as much as you can, as best as you can.
And I also would say most of the time, like 99% of the time, no one does anything to make you angry. They don't do anything in maliciousness. Like, even if they're a bad guy, like, they're trying to create story, like 99% of the time. So take it.
We'll have another RP 101 someday on bleed. I think that would be a really good
Yeah.
topic to talk about. But
keeping it separated.
Yep. Keeping it separate.
Yeah, and also feel free to ask questions.
Yeah.
Like,
I highly encourage
in the
anybody
Discord,
to ask
or
questions.
if you want it, like, you can DM me. My
Same
DMs are
here.
always open.
My
Feel
DMs
free
are
to
open
be
as
like,
well.
hey, I want to do this thing. What do you think about it? Like, I'll give you an honest opinion. I'm no expert. Like, I just play the game.
Yep.
But yeah, I'd be more than willing to talk with anyone.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter who you are.
I think we're all pretty happy to help, and my DMs also are open always. I think Andy's a little
Don't
more.
DM me.
Yeah.
I have social anxiety. Don't DM me.
That's fair. So don't DM her. DM me.
You can meet me in game, and then if we make it, good enough connection there, maybe you can DM.
Also, there's a lot of people that DM me just to vent, like they get into a situation, and I have more than 10 people that will just message me and be like, I just need to get this off my chest, and they vent, and they're like, okay, I'm good now. Because they were put in a shitty situation, or somebody pissed them off OC, or like, and I'm like, all right, I'm here. If you need me, let me know. But other than that, like
feelings are okay.
Happens,
feelings are okay. And if you have someone that you trust that you want to drop a note in the pocket of, by all means, I think it's better to get it off your chest than to bring it out in game. And usually if you reach out to someone who's experienced, they can help you through it. I mean, it's rough. Sometimes, like Matt has said and Kat has said, all of us have said, investment. You're invested in a character, and it can really it can get to you sometimes, and it will. I promise you. And you just have to.
Right, it will get
exactly. So, I mean, just enjoy it, and vent and let it go. you know, let it go. Sometimes that's hard to do. You know, but
don't hop in the Discord and vent publicly
Yeah.
to everybody.
Yeah.
No one's
never
trying to
done
go in
that
there.
Not a good
before.
look.
Yeah,
Ever.
just don't do it.
Yeah.
It's not worth it.
No.
You may be
no.
frustrated. You may be like, hey, I'm a new player and I just keep getting killed and I don't want to deal. Like, DM me. Don't
Yeah.
put it publicly because I just
Oh, believe me, I've done it too. Don't worry, I've done it. I've done it.
I personally have done it.
I think we all have.
Shout out to Dash
Except
from
maybe.
Dam, for killing
And
my game
probably
main
not, yeah.
character and me yelling at him, which was not a good look, but I was infuriated.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, it shit happens.
It does. It does. And as a streamer, I can say that knee-jerk reactions sometimes are not pleasant. I mean, sometimes you just get caught off guard by things, and
Yeah.
it's hard, and you have to backstep boogie a little bit and kind of do cleanup. But you know, feelings are real. So don't be afraid. Do not be afraid to DM those of us who have said our DMs are open. If you just want to vent, just be prepared to leave it there, you know, and don't do it publicly. Don't make that mistake. God, don't make that mistake.
It may
I've
it
done
may
it,
seem
I've done
really
it.
it may seem really good in the moment. It's just never.
Yeah,
It's
no,
never a good choice.
No. But I don't have any more questions on my stream. I don't know about you guys. Any more, Kat?
A couple more. I think
let's go. Let's go.
depending
Go
on
for it,
how your timing is looking for everybody, we do have some more questions in the YouTube chat for me.
Absolutely.
Joe has an extremely easy one to answer. Who do you feel is the best role play on the server? Super easy to answer.
Oh
Who's
my
the best
god.
role player on the server?
The
Is
best
that
role
what-
player on the ser- I
Who do
don't-
you feel is the
Yeah.
best
Like,
RP
Jesus
on the
Christ.
server?
think
That would
it
be
depends on the
impossible to
situation.
answer, I think. There's
That is
so
impossible.
many great role players on
There's
the
so many
server.
Yeah.
different ways to role play. There's so many
Yeah.
like. Oh my
It depends
God,
on like there's so many different categories. There's like
Yeah.
I
there's
know.
some really good
Yeah,
bad people.
yeah.
There's
That's
some
what the
really
Dougies are
good
for.
people.
Go look
Yeah.
at that.
Yeah, that's what the doggies are for, man.
Yeah.
Oh,
I will name a
Yeah.
few of the people that I appreciate. I can say Kat is one of them. Always have Matt, Andy, all the people you see on the screen, Poopy,
Greenie.
Sterling, Greenie, Ivy, Willow, Natasha, Gary. Oh, fuck. I love Gary.
Gary's
Gary
Gary
really
is-
deserves a
Gary-
shout out for sure.
Yes, he does. Yes, Bonkertons, guys.
Bonkertons.
Bonkertons. Yeah.
Mhm.
Blackthorn Gang. Actually.
Blackthorn Gang. Yeah.
I think there's a lot of guys in like FL that I think have been really like just for me personally, like they've done some really good role play where I've been like, holy shit, like how did they just pull that off? There's some people in Dam that I think are fantastic. Some of the Fireflies.
My favorite is the clowns. I love the
The
clowns.
clowns have been on
God
their
dang,
game
I love.
lately.
Me
They
too.
have. They really have.
Maybe I'm
Yeah,
a bit
they-
biased.
Most of the time, if a group has a place on the map, it is because they
They've
good
put in the
role
work to have
Yeah.
that. They
Yeah.
have.
Yeah.
Mhm.
to have
I
that.
think
I
Waldorf-
like Poopy. I like
Waldorf,
Poopy.
yeah.
Poopy does good. Poopy does good. He does good at being a menace.
Yeah,
really,
he
really-
can, he can really piss you off.
Yeah, he really can, man. I'm telling you.
I think if I had to choose,
Oh, the golden
golden
peppers.
the
yeah.
golden peppers are some of the best that I've
Yeah,
ever interacted
I've
with.
heard
They are
that. I've never
fantastic. They are
met them.
So good. It is. Cobb is one of the greatest. He uses the emotes like in conversation, and it
Kiwi's
is
the best.
amazing. It is
That's what
amazing.
it is.
Kiwi's fantastic too.
Oh, Kiwi is good. Kiwi is good. Yeah, Kiwi
Doesn't even
is the
talk,
most
it's
just- plays
verbal,
it beautiful.
non-verbal character I've ever met in DayZ. Honestly. So
Vadim playing all his different characters that he plays.
I don't know. I don't know who else he plays. Who else does he
pla-
play?
The doctor that kidnapped me and
crazy
gave me
doctor.
Kuru. Yeah, he plays that character.
Oh,
He played
oh.
Vadim. Yeah.
Oh, okay. No. I've only. I think
he's-
I've only met Vadim, but I haven't met the Golden Peppers either. But I have heard good things about them.
I'm trying to
Fantastic.
think. Goblin.
Yeah, so it really is hard. Somebody said here the best ones are the ones where you can't tell if it's their real voice or not. I'm telling you, I have such an admiration for people who can voice act. I cannot. I can
Ryan
change my
Ruff's accent's
accent
good.
100 times and everybody will still know it's me. There's nothing I can do about it.
You just
Cat
have a
is-
thick voice, you can't
Kat is good at it. Andy is
Yeah.
good at it. Matt, you're pretty good at it too, but I can still tell it's you.
Yeah, you can tell it's me.
Yeah.
I'm from Massachusetts, so like the accent is like half New York, half Boston, and for
Although at
Glenn.
first it took me a minute for Glenn. It did take me a
Yeah,
minute for
yeah.
Glenn, but you don't have to be a voice actor to do this, guys. There
No.
are people who are very gifted at it. Don't be intimidated. Believe me,
Doing it for a
believe
while.
me, a lot of people are not, and I'm a perfect example. I'm not a voice actor, so you know, give it your best shot, right?
I like this
No.
question for you guys. Has role playing in Doug had any positive effects on your life, in real life?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Oh gosh.
You learn so much about yourself
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
by playing out the
Yeah.
characters that every character that you will play will have some part of you in it. It doesn't matter because you're playing what you know and you're experiencing like another life. It's like this whole thing. So you learn so much about yourself,
Yeah.
about the world, about other people.
Yep.
It's a growing experience in so many aspects. It's like when Andy died, I had to deal with grief and loss, like stuff
Yeah.
like that. Like
Yeah.
you learn so much in so many ways.
And I personally can tell you that it has literally absolutely changed everything for me. When I first started playing on Doug, I was newly diagnosed with young onset Parkinson's disease. I was immediately, retired. Well, medically sort of retired at the time because I was going through rehab and trying to figure out how to live with this new disease. And escapism for me, I think, from the reality of what was happening in my life was really important. So to be able to come into an environment where I could get away from what was happening, and I mean, we all do it, and there's nothing wrong with a little bit of escapism. You just can't take it too far. And for a while, I did. I absolutely did. I buried myself in role play because I needed to get away from the reality of what was happening in my life. I didn't imagine that my life would end up where it was. Instead, now I'm fine. I'm still kind of half medically retired. I work a little bit here and there, but and I do have my issues. So I made a choice this time around to give Mamie some of those problems, because for me it makes it easier to get into Mamie a little bit, and it kind of gives me a little bit of therapy. I don't know how to how it really does. It helps me. It does. It is real. It is real, and it's a way for me to also cope with what's happening, but it's also a way for me to spread knowledge about the disease through role play, which I think is really cool too. So for me, role play has literally changed a lot for me. It really has.
And you can make a lot of real friends, which actually
Yes.
before I played DayZ, I didn't believe that people could have online friends. Like that was me, like however many fucking years, 10 years ago, however long it's been. And because I would see my roommate have all these people online he would talk to and be like, oh, they're my real friends. And I was like, yeah, right. Like you don't see them, whatever. But as my own journey has gone through, it's ups and downs and whatever, and finding friends like Jackie, who I consider one of my best friends at this point. It's
She came to visit me in Sweden, man. She came all the way to Sweden to visit me.
But I have met real serious friends, and I've gone and visited them, and I've made these connections, and we're forever friends. Even those people that back in the day I visited, and I role played with 2 years, and I was like, I want to go visit, and they're like, you're fucking crazy, and I'm like, I'm gonna do it anyway. Because there are people like stranger danger about people on the internet. But when you role play with someone for 2 years, like you feel like you kind of you know them. So I don't know, maybe I'm just crazy, but the friendships that I have made in role play are definitely completely lasting ones that I will have for the rest of my life, probably. So
absolutely, yes.
Yeah, I don't like anyone that I've met. I'm 100% playing a character. I don't like anyone. Yeah, I've met some fantastic people, and yeah, you do create genuine, like, real relationships with people, and it's even like I play games with people OOC, like and that's like the being a member of the Doug community is kind of like a part of that, because we want everyone to kind of, you don't have to like everybody, you don't have to,
Yeah.
but we want you to get along and like understand that they are people, like it's not. And yeah, I think it's an emotional, weird experiment. Like
Yeah.
I don't know, it's really
I
strange.
You
I
don't have
have
to like
a
everyone, but you do have to respect
I
them.
do
Like
have a
that's
Yeah,
good question for you guys from my stream in regards to this particular topic. Four had another question. How do you deal with wanting to get to know the people behind the characters, not just the characters they play? I would
so.
say for
There's
me,
boundaries,
there
so
are boundaries,
respect
but I
boundaries.
am notoriously boundaryless. I will say that now. I've been working on that. Yeah, don't roll your eyes at me. Don't roll your eyes at me. But
Yeah.
I think for me, I'm like an open book. If people DM me, I'm gonna give them a chance to come on in the door. Whether or not that person becomes a friend of mine or a closer friend of mine is very dependent on the conversations that we have, the interactions that we have, and we share outside of the game, and personality, honestly, and just read the room. Sometimes there are people that just don't mesh, and you're going to
Yeah.
have to understand that. But speaking from a person who's very open, um, I usually am pretty open to talk to anybody, and I'm always open to new friendships. Not everybody is that way, though. And so you have to learn to kind of respect that and understand where that line is drawn. So that's my part. So I'll let you guys go.
I would say I don't typically DM people. Um Usually typically people DM me sometimes. I'm just really an in-game kind of person most of the time. Unless I feel like there's some like if I see something in you that I'm like I feel like I kind of might want to know this person, but even then I don't really, I might my usual first DM if I'm actually interested in getting to know the person is something like throw them a
Come play
compliment, be
Red
like
M with me.
after an RP session, be like, "Hey, that was so amazing, that was so great," and I kind of start the conversation like that. Um, I usually begin it with like in-game kind of context, and then depending on how they respond, if they're okay with it, like, hey, whatever happens after that is kind of like what it is. Jackie didn't have a choice when I became friends with her though, so that was because she showed me right off the bat that she was an amazing person. So I was like, I'm not losing this person. But yeah, most of the time I do not DM people. But if people DM me, I'm usually, depending on how much time we spent in game, I'm usually pretty receptive to people.
Yeah, I think
I have a
answered.
lot of my DMing style is very one word sometimes, and that's not because I hate you or anything. It's
It's
just the way
cautious.
that I communicate.
Cautious. Yeah. For to answer your question, and I did kind of in the chat here, but just for everybody else, Four asked, as there are in real life, I've had some really cool interactions where I'd like to understand the thought process of why they chose to do that. I think in my opinion, now correct me others, here, but when it comes to me, if you had questions about something I did, absolutely. When it comes to the process of role play, absolutely. If you question something, feel free. Feel free. If somebody doesn't want you to DM them, you can usually read that pretty clearly. If not, some of them have their DMs completely blocked, so you can't anyway. Or some people might just respond kind of like, you can
Like out of
tell.
character.
Yeah, you can tell. You can tell. But when it comes to processes of role play and learning and understanding, I think most of us are pretty understanding with answering those kinds of questions.
Yeah.
I have a pretty important question to touch on. Raphael asks, is there any role playing that is not allowed? Like serial killers or racist crazy person? I'd say absolutely don't be racist.
No racism.
No
You will be
racism,
banned.
sexism, bigotry, that type of role play is not allowed. It is rule breaking. And
Harassment.
it is harassment.
Yep.
There is a line. There is absolutely a line drawn when it comes to role play, and I believe that if you go to the website and you read the rules thoroughly, it does touch on that type of thing. It will be a rule break if you go around role playing a racist person.
We have a no tolerance policy for that.
Mm-hmm.
Like you don't get a second chance.
Yeah.
Yeah. So don't do that.
Don't do it.
Don't do it.
it.
It's not worth it. It's not worth it.
Don't do it, because there's if you get
It's
done. You'll be
Yeah.
gone
Just-
forever.
yeah.
Don't do it.
That's not fun for anyone. So yeah,
No.
don't.
It's okay to be a badass
You could-
asshole.
You could
can
be a
be all you
you
want.
can be a serial
Yeah,
killer.
you could be a serial killer. For
But
sure.
Absolutely.
the
we have plenty of them.
Yeah, the motivations
Yeah.
can't be bigoted.
Yeah.
Yeah. I scrolled back a little bit because we got lots of conversation in between questions. Senor Bungus, what character instills the most anxiety when you know they're close?
The cult.
The cult.
Poopy! God damn poopy!
Well, yeah, that's for
Poor
you.
Mamie. Poor Mamie.
Yeah, I don't know what it is about the cult.
Terrorized.
Like they have this weird
The mystery,
They're-
the aura.
the mystery, the shadows. It's like you don't. It's like this weird. I experienced it the other day when they were on the radio. I was like, oh my god! Like I just had this visceral reaction to their voices that I was like, oh my god, I'm gonna.
Oh
like
shit.
I gotta get out of here. Like oh shit, they're close by. What am I gonna do? Like they. I don't know what it is. It's just that the whole atmosphere of the cult is like so terrifying, especially with what they've done in the past, sacrificing people. Like
Oh yeah, they
like,
are.
Sacrificing.
they have done some heinous things. And
Toronto.
I can't even describe here what some
Yeah.
of the storylines that
Yeah.
have happened have been. They're NSFW.
Yeah.
Yes.
So,
But it's always been mutual that the
Yes,
people involved in it were always reached out to and always like, are you okay with doing this and stuff like that. So it's not like they're doing it to
That's
actually
probably
hurt anybody.
right, and that's probably another good thing to touch on too. That if you do have something planned that is heinous and involves torture or anything like that, and I think that's in the rules too, right, Matt? Something. Reach out to the people involved always and make sure they're okay with it.
Yeah, never assume that somebody's gonna be like a willing participant in your crazy shenanigans. Like obviously, if it's like in the moment, stuff happens. But like, if you feel uncomfortable in any, like, we don't want anyone to feel uncomfortable on the server at all, ever. Like, if that ever happens, please feel free to reach out to staff, bring it up to me at any time. I will handle it. That we have, you shouldn't be on the server if you're out to make people feel. There is an uncomfortability that's okay, but then there's a line that you do not cross. And if somebody tells you to stop, then you stop. You don't go any further. And if you keep going, you will not be playing on the server anymore.
And that's not to say that Mamie standing there saying, please don't shoot, means you don't have to, that you have to not shoot me. Of course you can shoot me if you want to. We're talking about that if it's a very clear communication that this isn't okay, and it usually is. If it usually is,
people will break character. And be like, hey, like this isn't okay. Like I'm done with this interaction. And if you do not move on, you will be removed from the server. I promise you. It has happened before. I'm sure it'll happen again, sadly. But yeah, just be aware of like who you're interacting with, what you're doing. If you sense that someone's feeling uncomfortable, most people can sense that. Just kind of back off and move on. Yeah, just don't cross that line with people, and be respectful of everyone you meet on the server. We're all here to have fun. We're not here to screw people over. I mean, like some people are, but there's
what?
I'm not looking at you, Kat. But yeah, it's the rules. The rules are there. Please read them. Take a look, read them, understand them. If you have questions, ask. Just don't be a dick. Like, that's it.
It's the golden rule. Don't be a jerk. I highly encourage like talking about uncomfortable situations when you're role playing. I want everybody to know that if you're experiencing an uncomfortable situation, absolutely break character. Be very clear that you don't like this, and most people you encounter will know like it's done and move
Yeah,
on.
if it's any member from the community, they will stop, and I will make sure they stop.
Yes.
And the rest of the staff will too.
Yes. And I don't really have any like server oriented or roleplay questions. It's more just fun questions now. If you want to take one last just fun question.
Sure, why not?
I saw somebody asked if you could join any one faction. Who are you joining? I'm already part of the faction that I wanted to join. I'm doing that right now. I'm part of the Dark Carnival and playing a crazy clown lady. But maybe in another life, I would really like to do a good guy, because I haven't yet on Doug. I would be interested in doing something like the Coalition or the. I remember the Golden Peppers as they were before. I haven't interacted with them since they've been back.
Good Golden Peppers.
Yeah. But
I think you'd fit in well with them now.
I find them interesting. I've heard some stories of what they're like now, and it's still interesting. Those are a couple of places that I think I would want to try my hand at if I wasn't doing clowns. What about you guys?
I love the Coalition. I love being with Amber, with the Prometheus Archives. I'm where I want to be, but when this is over, I think if I'm I'd like the clowns. I think I'd love to
That
try
would be very
clown.
interesting to have
Yeah.
be a clown.
Mango
I'm sure you'd
Man.
have a ton of fun playing chaotic something.
Yeah,
but
I would. I think I would. I've never
just
really.
go be a mango at the end of your life.
Yeah.
Just like
Yeah. There we go.
over there and get.
Yeah.
You know, it's fine.
Yeah. So that's me.
The groups I've been in previously, Firekeepers, Black Sheep, like they had their own thing going. I didn't always agree with them, you know. And now I'm just kind of because I'm a historian, I have this thing where like I kind of have to be neutral in order to you know, find and tell the stories. Like I'm sure they wouldn't mind if I was in the Coalition, but Ember has made a distinct decision to not be affiliated with any groups because it would impede the work that she is trying to do currently. Now, if other people join her and that becomes a group, that is what it is. But currently, she is just kind of, you know, she's associated with the Coalition because they've helped her so much and they're friends of hers and she loves them, but she would never wear an armband for that.
Yeah, and for me that's rough because technically, you know, I'm Ember's sidekick. I'm there for her, but I'm also a part of the Coalition. But my goals and hers, you know, I don't necessarily need to be neutral like she does. You know, let's see. Are there any story ideas you've had and would love to see other characters create? Any story? Any story, literally any story. I'm game for anything, and I think most of us here are. I will lose every time for a good story, man. I'll give you my very best too, you know. And I think that's always the important is to honor the scenes that you're in, to honor them. And yeah, go ahead.
It's the tarot reader one that you talked about.
The what?
The tarot reader.
Oh yeah, yes, we've talked about tarot reader characters. That would be something. My Red M character is a Romanian. I don't want to say the word, but I use it all the time anyway. Romanian, a Roma, a traveler, a gypsy. I know some people don't prefer that word to be used, but she is a tarot reader, and I learned to read tarot for her. I would love to see somebody do that. Absolutely love to see someone do that.
There's a couple people that have done that for the Matt character and some other characters on the server. Maybe Matt will introduce you to them.
Ooh, that would be nice. That would be nice.
I'm trying to think of that I've had ideas for that I haven't done. I don't know. I'm currently working on the one I have, so I'm kind of focused on that.
Yeah,
I don't.
yeah.
I usually don't have an idea for the next thing until I'm done with the thing that I'm doing. I'm very one-tracked about that usually. So
I did want to create a group that just went around wearing suits and kept weapons hidden inside their, like, they never wore backpacks or anything.
they're
and
all
they
like in.
yeah, like a
Yeah,
50s
like
gangster
slick.
mob.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like
That
kind
would
of
be
talk
good.
like that. Like
Yeah.
maybe like 3 to 5 people, small group, but they only roam the coast, and they just, and like they would never kill people on purpose, but they would shoot them in the leg and rob them.
The soup mafia.
Or,
Yeah,
There
I
was
like
yeah,
that.
yeah, and just like take all their gear from the newer players and give them a fun little
Mm.
hostile interaction, and then, you know.
that was the other thing that didn't quite come to fruition is the Valkyries thing that I started briefly, which was honestly just a way for like it was a all girl group, right? So I had collected all of the girls from like I had Iris, I had Jackie, I had Shadow, I had, it was just supposed to be this thing where like all the women would go together as a group and play and be weird with men.
We had
like
a
kill
lot of
men
the women do
and
that.
like
Yeah,
do that.
we had
It was
girls' night a
like
few
a
times. I
Yeah.
was
girl group.
they put me in a dress multiple times and made me sing songs and dance and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, it was just supposed to be like a thing that happened every once in a while to get all the ladies together and have a little girls' night,
Yeah.
I do have a question. How do I join you all on the DayZ server? Matt?
Check out DayZUnderground.com. The info's there. Join the Discord, should be in the top right of the website. Click that link, join the Discord, ask questions, read the rules.
If you
Yeah.
want to, put a wireless application in.
Yeah, play on the server
Yeah.
first. I would
I did.
fully suggest to play on the server first.
I had somebody ask about like where they could read lore. They don't have PC, so they can't actually play. That's another good place to just read about people and stuff that's happened on the server is on the website. And I believe there is also a Doug wiki where you can read
Yes.
about
Yeah.
groups and notable characters and things like that. Is there a link to the wiki on the website? I'm not certain.
Yeah.
I don't think it's on the website
It's
yet.
It's on
I
the
will-
Reddit. That's on
yeah,
the
it's
Reddit.
yeah. If you it's open to the public. The one that Joe made recently is open to the public now. I will put that on I will get a link on the website this week.
Good.
But if you join the Discord and you do !wiki, it will bring you to the link, and then you can go through there if you are not a whitelisted member.
Maybe.
Yeah. Pop into the Discord
I'll
also.
throw the link in people's.
Then it starts-
Yeah, I would
would you
appreciate
do
that.
that? The Discord link? Yeah, please. Because I don't think my guy can hear you for some reason, Matt. I don't know why he can't, but
I'm just very cool. I lost my voice. I was in Nashville all week for a work conference, and I partied a little bit too hard, and my voice is starting to go.
no, you sound fine to me. I'm not sure why he can't hear you, but if we can just get a Discord link to the. For some reason, my Stream Elements is not wanting to put the links up for me for my mods. I don't know what the deal is there.
Do you have links?
Oh, geez, dang it. Sorry. Can you? Oh boy. How do I? Star, can you free him up so his link can be seen there?
Oh Lord, I need to do that.
All
too.
right, I have a link to the wiki that I can post in my chats here for those that would like to check out the wiki. And I have to get going. It's been almost 2 hours since we started. I want to
people wanna
take
role
this
play.
one
Wrap it up.
last question I pinned to my Twitch chat. It's from Hot and Soupy. It's actually a few questions in one post, but I think that'll be the last one that we take if that's all right with you guys.
Yeah, that's fine.
He asked
Can you post that again, Matt, in my chat real quick? We did hyperlink. Sorry, Kat.
No, you're good. You're good. He asked a few things. He first asked, do you think Doug would benefit from asking players to create a character sheet of sorts for their characters as part of the whitelist, like personality traits, ideals, bonds, and flaws, and a backstory? I've noticed an issue where people sort of just become their faction rather than individuals. Not sure if that's a good question or not. What are your all's thoughts on that? I'll let you go first.
I'll speak on the staff's like thoughts on that. I think that if you want to do that on your own, like that's fine. If you want to create a character sheet, actually I'd probably encourage it to like do it for yourself. But we're not going to force anyone to do that. Like that's not what Doug is about. Doug is kind of about finding your character through playing, and I think that would kind of like we're not gonna force you to think of
And-
everything beforehand. You let the server determine.
And those
where you go.
whitelist apps, I'm sorry, but having to tell all that, for some of
Yeah.
us, it's tedious over and over again. Can you please provide us this
All
whole
your
big
character
long?
information.
I
yeah.
mean, yeah, no, that's not what Doug is about. Definitely.
No.
And sometimes, you know, if you find the right faction, depending, especially if you're a new role player, your faction can influence how your character turns out, and that's
For
totally
sure.
a thing that happens all the time. But do think about your characters as an individual and their backstory and how they would react to the things that are happening.
Mhm.
And you can absolutely leave one faction, go into another.
And we can also have another session on how to create characters and the different ways that some of us do that and create our backstories.
Yeah.
I think that would be a really good RP 101 for the future. And you can always reach out to us as well.
Yeah, I think a key to a good character is have flaws, have many
Yeah.
flaws, and
Mhm.
don't
Oh,
be
yeah.
perfect. No one's perfect. You're not interesting if you're always the winner. Like it's just not fun. Have a flaw or multiple. Like our characters are all flawed. Like just
Yes.
yeah,
So
riddled with flaws.
riddled.
Because it wouldn't be believable if everyone was perfect all the time.
Exactly. And yeah, this is not the last RP 101. I know that we all have lots of good ideas and lots of good topics to talk about. I think that we all plan to keep going with this and return to this. And
Absolutely.
If you
I
have suggestions for topics too, feel free
yep,
to
I was just
throw
about
them
to
at
say
us.
that I would love to hear from everybody watching, and I will have VODs up, but if you go to my YouTube, you can comment things on the VOD once it's uploaded. I would love if you guys did that. Give me some ideas that I can work with for the next thing.
There will be VODs of the entire session for those
Mhm.
of you who came in late, so you can go back and look at what you missed. And we will be having future episodes of this with other people
Special
that may.
guests, maybe.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I'd like to get Toronto in here. I think
Yes,
Yes.
I do.
Oh,
Yes,
yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
I really would like
Doug's
to
not
get
allowed.
other guests in here and hear from them, because there are a lot of really interesting players and role players to talk to, and I would love
maybe
to.
Gary.
Yes.
Will.
Yes, I would
Will
love
would be
to
fantastic.
hear how their brains tick about
Yes.
things.
So for my part, I am going to. I guess if we're done, was there anything else? Anybody?
Love you
Yeah.
all. Come
Yeah,
I-
try the
Yeah.
server, come play, read the rules, have fun, don't be a jerk.
Yes.
And thanks for being here and meeting all of us today. And feel free to ask questions outside if you need them to those of us who have said we'd be willing to answer. So
I did link everybody's Twitches. We have Andromeda Starry to my left. She plays the lovely Ember on the server. And then beneath her, we have Jackie Jackpot. I've also linked her Twitch. And then underneath me is Legit Pop, also known as Matt, and many other characters that I cannot name at this time. And they're all lovely people, and they do stream. I know Jackie streams quite a lot, so I would love if you guys go over to them, give them a follow, see what they're about. They're awesome people. And
be streaming tonight.
likewise to everybody here. Back at you.
Legit Pop will have a stream tonight, he says. So I appreciate everybody coming out. I'm gonna take off. Thank you, everybody, for being a part of this and working with
Thank
me
you.
during my technical difficulties right at the start of the stream.
Thank you, Kat. Thank you very much.
I hope
You're
everybody
awesome.
has a good night, and I'm gonna see folks tomorrow because I stream every Sunday. So I will see you tomorrow.
All right, and tonight I will be streaming. I'm going to go into a BRB for a minute and reset, and I will be going in game. So I'll see you in game.
Yes.
Investigating Mamie.
See you in game.
All right. Yeah.
I typically don't stream, but I do record and I do put out content for DayZ. Maybe I'll stream sometimes, but it's very rare.
Oh, maybe if you guys could, I know that you both, maybe all three of you have YouTube channels as well where you do upload videos sometimes.
Yep.
If you want
Yeah.
to see them when they're not streaming, they do have YouTube channels. Are they all the same names for everybody?
I
mine
think
is-
Andy and I are trying to put a lot of our content on Wildflowers Productions right now. We have a content server where we primarily have done Red Dead content, but we are starting to include some DayZ content in that now too, or wanting to.
Okay.
We are always looking for voice actors, musicians, writers, scripters, video editors, music, you name it. If you want to be a part of it, feel free to hit us up. But that is primarily, I think, where we put where we're going to be putting most of our content. But I do have my VODs, so I usually just use those. And any YouTube content I've been trying to put on Wildflowers.
Yeah.
So.
DayZUnderground on YouTube. Search that. You will find
Yeah,
a
there's
lot of
Very
us.
yes.
There's so
Yeah.
many
Stuff on
people. Check out the YouTube. I add community members' videos to that all the time. To the community.
There's some good
pages.
lore there too to
Some
look
really
at.
good lore stuff too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some history of Doug stuff is fantastic on there.
Yep.
Like 10 years worth. Well,
Yeah.
over 10 now.
Yeah.
So yeah.
All right. Well,
Well,
love you guys.
I'm
I will be
taking
right
off.
back,
Love everyone.
guys.
Love
And we'll hop
everybody.
into game. Love you, Kat.
You can
Thank
hear
you.
Jackie scream.
Oh,
Yeah,
I could raid over
Wait
to
a minute
Jackie.
there.
I figured out how to do that recently. I'll send folks over
Oh,
in Twitch.
did
over
you
to
learn how to do
Jackie.
that?
I did. Oh my gosh, it was a whole thing. I was trying to raid Bonkertons and I could not
I
figure out how
saw
to do
it.
it. And he was like, I think Kat's trying to link the stream. I think she's. I'm like, no, please. I'm not trying to do that. I'm not trying to do that. Don't do it. It's Jackie
Yeah.
Jackpot. Let's see if that works.
Yeah.
There we
like I said,
go.
I will be given a few minutes here just to get things switched over and the game open. I don't know why my things are not working. So feel free. Yeah, I don't know why my links aren't working. Bye, Kat.
Bye bye.
But yes, I will see you